Do you and each of you swear that the testimony that you are about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Thank you very much. Let the record show that all of the witnesses answered in the affirmative. Our first witnesses are social media personalities Lynette Diamond Hardaway and Rochelle Silk Richardson. Our second witness, Baron Soka, the president of Tech Freedom. Our third witness is Professor Ari Waldman, a professor of law and the director of the Innovative Center for Law and Technology at New York Law School. And our fourth and final witness of the day is David Chavern, the president and CEO of News Media Alliance and the American Press Institute. Your written statements will all be entered into the record in their entirety, and we ask that each of you summarize your testimony in 5 minutes. To help you stay within that time, there is a timing light on your table. When the light switches from green to yellow, you have 1 minute to conclude your testimony. When the light turns red, it signals your 5 minutes have expired. Ms. Hardaway and Ms. Richardson, you may begin. I understand you're going to share your 5 minutes. Welcome.
We would like to thank the Judiciary Committee for allowing us the opportunity to voice our concerns about conservatives being targeted and censored on social media platforms. Facebook, along with other social media sites, have taken aggressive actions to silence conservative voices such as ourselves by deliberately restricting and weaponizing our page with algorithms that censor and suppress our free speech. These biased algorithms are tactics designed to pick up on keywords, thus telling the pages how to behave in ways that repress and stifle express ideas, including shadow banning, which block our content from being seen by our followers while depriving our brand through the demonetization of our videos. Followers stopped receiving notification when we posted videos and content. Followers was also mysteriously unliked from our page. Subtle and slowly, Facebook used one mechanism at a time to diminish our reach by restricting our page so that our 1.2 million followers would not see our content, thus silencing our conservative voices. When we reached out to Facebook for an explanation, they gave us the runaround. Mark Zuckerberg testified before Congress and stated that the most important thing he cared about was making sure no one interferes in the 2018 elections. But after doing our research, we wondered if Mark Zuckerberg was using Facebook to interfere in the 2018 elections by labeling users' accounts as either liberal, very liberal, moderate, conservative, or very conservative. This is one of the main underhanded ways to censor conservatives. So if I'm labeled as very liberal without the option to edit it, update, and correct the settings, then algorithms are already put in place which allows advertisers that have liberal views, services, and causes to target me. And you can see the graph on the screen, and it shows clearly that our personal accounts have been already labeled. Diamond and Silk personal Facebook page has been labeled by Facebook as very liberal. Even though we are not very liberal, Facebook do not give us the option to change this label to conservative, making it less likely for us to see advertisement, news stories, and services for a conservative point of view. If Facebook labeled our user accounts as very liberal and got it wrong, how many more other users' accounts haven't they gotten wrong? On September 7, 2017, we received a message on our Facebook page which stated that limits has been placed on diamonds and silks, and you can see picture 2. You can see on picture 3 all of the complaints that have come in from our followers where they're not receiving notification. When watching our videos, it stopped. They can't watch our videos. We've also noticed how someone with a liberal point of view that spew hate against the president can garner up to 19 million views with only 539,000 followers, yet we have 1.2 million followers and only received 13,000 views on a video, and you can see that in picture 4. And then in picture 5, you can see the comparison from back then till today. Also, if you look at picture 5, part 2, when we uploaded a video on March 4, With 1.2 million people, we was only able to reach 37,000 views. But as soon as Mark Zuckerberg and Facebook, this here issue came to light and they started taking those algorithms off, we uploaded the same video on April the 12th and it was able to garner 400,000 views. After looking at our analytical on picture 5, part 3, after looking at our analytical, you can clearly see that the restrictions are back because after the 12th, everything started going back downhill. In 2016, with less than 1 million followers, our reach page would garner 5 to 8 million people or more within a week. All of that changed when the algorithms was placed back on our page to suppress our reach. YouTube also demonetized 95% of our videos in 2017, categorizing it as hate speech, even though our account was in good standard. We also show that Mark Zuckerberg said he don't allow hate speech, yet when people say the word I hate or we hate, those people also garner views. Was it in an enforcement error for 6 months, 29 days, 5 hours, 40 minutes, and 43 seconds of chatting and emailing about the same issue and being told that my issue would be escalated to a Facebook team, a spam team, the technical team, the appeal team, the internal team, the policy team, only to be told on January the 8th, 2018 that a request was never sent? And we have the proof. See picture 10 and picture 11. Censorship is no hoax, it's real. It's wrong for these social media giants to suppress and disregard people by diminishing and denying them their free speech. If social media is supposed to be a place for all ideas or to express an idea, then algorithms and tactics should not be in place to suppress some ideas. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hardaway. Mr. Soka, welcome.
Thank you, Chairman Goodlatte, Ranking Member Nadler. Thank you for inviting me.
Turn your microphone on.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairman Goodlatte, Ranking Member Nadler, for inviting me to testify here before your committee today. Mr. Chairman, it's a particular honor to testify before your retirement. We at Tech Freedom haven't always agreed with you over the years, but I've always considered you to be among the most thoughtful members of Congress, a true lawyer's lawyer. I particularly commend you for the work that your committee did over the last year on how to combat online sex trafficking. The legislation produced by this committee was carefully tailored to help prosecutors stop sites like Backpage and ensure that victims receive restitution. Your bill, which I'm sorry to say was combined with another less thoughtful bill, would have done so without disrupting the careful balance struck by Congress in Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act of 1996. So I'm here today to remind lawmakers why Congress made the right decision in enacting Section 230 and to explain why a fairness doctrine for the internet would be an even worse idea than was a fairness doctrine for broadcasting. At recent hearings with Facebook's CEO, lawmakers repeatedly asked about Facebook's supposed political bias. As the president of a small nonprofit dedicated to free markets and constitutionally limited government in technology policy, I have never encountered such bias. Yes, we struggle to get our message out, but that's probably because our message is more complicated than the sensationalism coming from advocates for bigger government. We are, after all, lawyers and not activists. I often hear conservative groups complain about the bias of social media platforms, but from what I can see after a decade in this field, their real problem is that they just don't use social media well. And let's face it, the young people who use social media best and reshare it most eagerly are overwhelmingly left-wing. This isn't the fault of Facebook, Google, YouTube, or any other platform. It's just always been true. At the Zuckerberg hearing, I was dumbstruck to hear conservative senators call for what amounts to a fairness doctrine for the internet. First enacted in 1949, the FCC's fairness doctrine was supposed to encourage robust debate in broadcasting. Instead, it did the opposite. Broadcasters avoided controversial topics. That enforced bland orthodoxy on radio and television, entrenching what conservatives still call the mainstream media and stifling alternative voices like talk radio. It was President Reagan and his FCC who ended enforcement of this insane policy. And yes, eventually Democrats saw the light too. In 2011, it was President Obama's FCC chairman who finally took the fairness doctrine off the books forever. Yet now, apparently out of misdirected frustration, it is conservatives who are talking about reviving the fairness doctrine, and this time for the internet, and as a condition for the protections of Section 230. This idea would stand Section 230 on its head. In 1995, it was another Republican, Congressman Chris Cox, who recognized that holding websites liable for content created by their users would have the perverse effect of discouraging websites from acting as good Samaritans. Section 230 avoids what has been called the moderator's dilemma, ensuring that websites are free to remove objectionable content without increasing their legal risk. Facebook and other social media sites together employ literally tens of thousands of moderators to remove everything from sex trafficking ads to terrorist messaging. This simply would not have happened without Section 230's encouragement of non-neutrality. Consider Canada, where website operators have no general shield from liability for defamation claims over third-party content. As one Canadian internet lawyer put it, the innocent dissemination defense may be available, but it requires a high degree of passivity and ignorance. I don't think anyone in this room really wants passivity from social media platforms. We want them to filter content, and there's just no way to demand their political neutrality at the same time. What President Reagan said about the Fairness Doctrine in 1987 remains true today. Quote, "History has shown that the dangers of an overly timid or biased press cannot be averted through bureaucratic regulation, but only through the freedom and competition that the First Amendment sought to guarantee. But instead of encouraging competition, a fairness doctrine for the internet would actually entrench today's tech giants. No, of course they won't like having to justify their content moderation decisions in court, and yes, they may very well restrict political discussions on their sites, just as happened with broadcasting. But today's tech giants would be able to manage vague, arbitrary, and open-ended legal liability far better than any startup. Congress should avoid doing anything that will hinder competition online. And lawmakers should remember what the Supreme Court said in 1943. Quote, "If there is any fixed star in our constellation, our constitutional constellation, it is that no official, high or petty, can prescribe what shall be orthodox in politics, nationalism, religion, or other matters of opinion." Unquote. The Fairness Doctrine would do just that, prescribe orthodoxy. This tired idea should be left in what President Reagan called the dustbin of history.
Thank you, Ms. Soka.